She spent years saving lives. But no one noticed the life in danger was her own. Every night, Alice came home like she was still on call, putting out fires, preventing explosions, holding together someone who didn't want to be healed. Until one ordinary night, in an ordinary kitchen, something broke. Not a plate. Not an argument. It was the moment she realized she had become her own emergency. And when Alice finally stopped running to save someone else, the question stopped being, what's going to happen to him, and became, what happens to a woman when she chooses, for the first time, to save her own life? Welcome to Lost Stories in Lyrics, the place where emotional stories will touch your heart. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and smash that subscribe button. Alice adjusted the badge on her chest and glanced at the clock at the hospital reception desk. 6 a.m. The shift had barely started, and she already felt the familiar weight settle onto her shoulders, that tension that lived between her shoulder blades and never quite went away. As the head nurse in the ER, she'd learned to live with constant pressure, with split-second decisions that separated life from death, with entire families' tears depending on her steady hands and calm voice. She walked down the corridor with purposeful steps, greeting the night shift staff. The nurses looked at her with that mix of respect and gratitude she never sought but had earned over 12 years on the job. Alice was the person everyone went to when something went wrong. She calmed panicked patients, held the hands of frightened seniors, and found solutions when resources were scarce and time was running out. Her white coat was always immaculate, her brown hair pulled into a tight bun, and her blue eyes carried a kind of determination that soothed even the most critical cases. No one there knew that this same Alice, so capable and unshakable at work, went home every night to a second shift that was even more exhausting. The routine was always the same. After 14 hours at the hospital, she took the subway, stopped at the grocery store to buy what Ethan had forgotten, and got home around 9 p.m. The apartment door creaked open, and the smell of burnt grease or something overcooked usually greeted her. Ethan was in the kitchen, as always, but never making anything that could really be called dinner. He was a chef. Or he had been, back in his glory days. Alice still remembered meeting him 4 years earlier, the night she and a few co-workers went out to eat at the restaurant where he ran the kitchen. Ethan had come to their table himself to present the main course, a wild mushroom risotto that looked like a piece of art in the center of a white plate. He talked with passion about every ingredient, about the perfect texture of the rice, about the balance between the earthiness of the mushrooms and the subtle acidity of the white wine. Alice was captivated, not just by the food, but by the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his craft. He had a rare talent and an intensity she'd never seen in anyone else. That night, when the restaurant closed, he came back to their table, and they talked late into the evening about dreams and ambitions. He wanted to open his own place someday. She wanted to make a difference in people's lives. They felt perfect for each other. In the first few months, Alice felt alive in a new way. Ethan cooked elaborate meals for her on his nights off, left sweet notes on the fridge, and talked about the future with contagious excitement. He was intense in everything he did, and Alice read that as passion, as commitment. But Ethan's intensity had a darker side that only surfaced when things got hard. The restaurant changed ownership. The new management wanted to cut costs, simplify the menu, turn it into just another generic place. Ethan clashed with them, refused to compromise his vision, and was eventually fired. That's when everything started to shift. Instead of looking for another job, Ethan spiraled into self-pity and anger. He spent his days locked inside the apartment, scrolling through culinary forums, criticizing other chefs, planning a restaurant of his own that never moved beyond talk. The bills started piling up. Alice took over all the expenses without complaining, telling herself it was just a phase, that he'd bounce back. But months turned into years, and he didn't. He picked up short-term jobs in bars and diners, but never lasted more than a few weeks. There was always a problem. The head chef didn't understand real cuisine, co-workers were jealous of his talent, customers didn't deserve his food. It was never his fault. Alice tried to help in every way she could. She edited his resume, called contacts in the industry, even offered to pay for a refresher course. Ethan accepted the help with a mix of gratitude and resentment, as if needing her were a personal failure. And when things went wrong, he lashed out. At first, the outbursts were small. A plate shattered in the sink. A door slammed too hard. Sharp words thrown in the heat of the moment, followed by half-hearted apologies. Alice, with her caretaker's heart, saw these reactions as symptoms of a deeper pain. She tried to talk, to understand, to heal. That was what she did every day at the hospital. Why would it be any different at home? Slowly, she began managing his life the same way she ran the ER. She woke up early to make coffee before leaving for work. She called him on her lunch break to remind him about interviews she'd lined up. She came home exhausted and still cleaned the mess he left in the kitchen after a day of experimenting with recipes that led nowhere. On nights when he actually worked, she stayed up waiting for him, knowing he'd come home upset about something. A coworker's comment. A customer who didn't compliment the dish. A manager who failed to recognize his brilliance. She listened, advised, soothed. And when he finally fell asleep, she lay awake a little longer, worrying, trying to figure out how to help him find his way back. Her friends started noticing the change. Coworkers asked if she was okay, if she was sleeping enough. Alice smiled and said she was fine, just tired from work. She stopped accepting invitations to go out because Ethan sulked when she went without him, and she didn't have the energy for the meltdown that would follow. Her sister tried to talk to her more than once, gently suggesting that maybe Alice was sacrificing too much. But Alice defended him fiercely. He was going through a hard time. He had talent, he just needed support. Relationships were about sticking around when things were bad. She wasn't going to abandon him when he needed her most. What Alice wouldn't admit, not even to herself, was how exhausted she was. She had become a domestic version of her hospital self, always on alert, always bracing for the next crisis, always putting someone else's needs before her own. The difference was that at the hospital, there were breaks, a team, shifts that eventually ended. At home, the shift never did. Ethan had just lost another job. It was a rainy Tuesday in October, and Alice came home later than usual after a particularly brutal shift. 3 critical patients. 2 families in tears. Decisions made in seconds. She climbed the apartment stairs slowly, every step feeling like it weighed a ton. When she opened the door, she found Ethan sitting on the kitchen floor, surrounded by dirty pans and a half-empty bottle of wine. His eyes were red, and he gripped his phone in anger. "They fired me," he said without looking up. "That idiot manager said I don't fit the culture." Culture. They don't have any culture. It's a third-rate joint serving frozen food and pretending it's gourmet. Alice dropped her bag and sat down beside him, still in her hospital scrubs, feet aching inside her shoes. "What happened?" she asked, in the same soft voice she used with frightened patience. "What always happens," he said bitterly. "Nobody recognizes real talent. Nobody wants excellence. They want fast, cheap mediocrity. I tried to explain to that moron how to make a proper sauce, and he accused me of being arrogant. Arrogant, for knowing how to do my job." Alice took a deep breath. She knew this story. She'd heard versions of it dozens of times. She knew that if she suggested he might have handled it differently, he'd explode. So she did what she always did, absorbed his anger, offered comfort, promised everything would be okay. "You'll find a better place," she said, rubbing his back. "A place that values what you bring." "When, Alice? When?" He turned to her, eyes full of frustration. "I'm 34. I should be running my own kitchen, not being humiliated by managers who don't know the difference between good olive oil and cooking grease." She had no answer. She was too tired for one. So she just sat there on the cold kitchen floor, holding the hand of a man who refused to stand up, while inside her something began to crack, slowly, like a thin fracture in a glass that still looks whole, but is already about to break. The change didn't happen all at once. It built slowly, like water filling a bucket, drop by drop, until it finally overflowed. The week after he was fired, Alice woke up in the middle of the night with a strange feeling in her chest. Ethan was sleeping soundly beside her. She stared at the ceiling, trying to name what was wrong. It wasn't exactly anxiety. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper. Heavier. The realization that she had been living in survival mode for so long she had forgotten what it felt like to simply live. She slipped out of bed and went into the kitchen. The sink was full of dishes from Ethan's latest culinary experiment. Expensive pots she'd bought for him. Professional knives he insisted were essential. All abandoned there, as if someone else would magically clean them. And she knew exactly who that someone was. She filled the sink with hot water and started washing on autopilot. As she scrubbed a pan with burned sauce stuck to the bottom, she found herself thinking about a patient she'd cared for that afternoon. A 50-year-old woman who had come in with a heart attack. As the team worked to stabilize her, the woman had gripped Alice's hand and kept saying, "I thought I had more time. I always thought I had more time to live my life." Those words echoed in Alice's head at 3 a.m. while she washed dishes. How many more years was she going to spend waiting for Ethan to recover? Waiting for him to turn the page, take responsibility, stop blaming the world for his choices? And while she waited, what was she doing with her own life? Guilt rushed in, as it always did. Ethan was struggling. He needed her. How could she think about herself when he was so lost? What kind of person abandons someone when they need support the most? She told herself she was just tired. That a good night's sleep would quiet those thoughts. It didn't. Over the following weeks, she couldn't unsee what she'd started to notice. How Ethan never asked about her day. How he got annoyed if she took 10 extra minutes in the shower, but could spend hours locked in the bathroom scrolling on his phone. How he spoke about his own dreams with fire in his eyes, but rolled his when she mentioned she was thinking about specializing in pediatric nursing. One Saturday afternoon, a coworker called and invited Alice to brunch with some of the old hospital crew. She hadn't seen her friends outside of work in months. She said yes before she even thought about it. When she told Ethan, he was at the living room table on his laptop, once again, researching locations for the restaurant that never left the screen. "Oh," he said without looking up. "Tomorrow? I was kind of counting on you to help me review the menu." "What menu, Ethan?" The words came out sharper than she meant. He looked up, startled by her tone. "My restaurant's menu. You know that. You don't have a restaurant. You have a folder on your computer full of ideas that will never become anything because you don't actually do anything to make them real." The silence that followed was heavy. Ethan closed the laptop slowly. Alice recognized that look, the storm gathering before the explosion. She braced herself out of habit, ready to soften, to retreat, to put the fire out before it spread. But this time, she didn't. "You think this is easy for me?" He stood up, his voice rising. "You think I like being in this situation? I have talent, Alice. I know I do. But nobody gives me a chance. Nobody understands my vision. And now you're turning against me too." "I'm not turning against you," she said, but her voice was steady, not soothing like usual. "I'm telling the truth. You're waiting for the world to recognize your talent, but you're not doing anything to show it. You waste your time complaining about people you think are beneath you, but you refuse every job because you think it's beneath you." "Wow," he laughed bitterly. "Thanks for the support. It's good to know my own girlfriend doesn't believe in me. I believed in you for 4 years, Ethan. I carried us financially, emotionally, everything. I woke up in the middle of the night to calm your breakdowns. I cleaned your messes, literal and emotional. I put my life on hold so you could figure yours out. And what did you do with all that support? You sank deeper. Because it's more comfortable to be the victim than to take responsibility." He stared at her like he was looking at a stranger. And maybe he was. Alice felt like one to herself too, this version of her who spoke hard truths, who didn't soften the edges, who didn't protect his feelings at the expense of her own. "You know what?" He grabbed his car keys off the table. "I'm going out. I need air." He slammed the door behind him. Alice stood alone in the living room, waiting for the guilt to hit. Waiting for the urge to chase him and apologize. It didn't come. What she felt instead was relief. Deep. Terrifying. Relief. She went to brunch the next day. Sat in the sunlight with her friends, talked about silly things and important things, laughed at dumb jokes, ate pancakes without worrying about how long she was taking. And when she came home 4 hours later, she felt like she'd come back to herself just a little. Ethan was visibly annoyed by how long she'd been gone. Alice didn't apologize. She just said it had been nice to see her friends and went to take a long shower. In the days that followed, she started setting small boundaries. She didn't wash the dishes he left. She didn't call him on her lunch break to check on him. She didn't stay up waiting when he went out, networking, which she knew meant drinking and complaining about life. Each boundary was a test. Each time she held it, something inside her grew stronger. And something in their relationship quietly died. Then came the night that changed everything. It was an ordinary Thursday. Alice came home after a 12-hour shift and found Ethan in the kitchen, clearly drunk, trying to make what he called dinner. Expensive ingredients were scattered across the counter, ingredients she had paid for. A costly steak was burned black in a smoking pan. Red wine was spilled across the floor. And Ethan was swaying in the small space, holding a chef's knife dangerously close to his fingers. "What are you doing?" Alice asked, dropping her bag. "Making dinner," he slurred. "Because you always complain. That I never do anything." She looked around at the chaos. And with crystal clarity, she knew what would happen next. When he gave up and passed out, she would clean it. She would go to work exhausted in the morning. She would keep holding the pieces while he kept breaking everything. "Ethan, you're drunk. Stop before you hurt yourself. Don't tell me what to do." He threw the knife into the sink. "You're not my mother." And there it was. The truth neither of them wanted to say. She had become exactly that. Not a partner. Not a girlfriend. A caretaker for a grown man who refused to grow up. Something inside Alice finally broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Cleanly. Like a bone snapping in a way you know will never set the same again. She looked at the man she once loved, swaying in a ruined kitchen, surrounded by the wreckage of his wasted dreams, and she understood that she could no longer save him. And more importantly, that saving herself meant letting him go. Alice didn't say anything in that moment. She simply turned around and walked into the bedroom. Every step felt deliberate, heavy with meaning. Behind her, she heard Ethan muttering curses as he stumbled over something, but she didn't turn back. For the first time in 4 years, his problem was no longer her problem. She opened the closet and pulled down the suitcase from the top shelf. The sound of the zipper echoed through the quiet apartment. Alice began folding her clothes with the same calm, methodical focus she used at the hospital when she needed to stay clear-headed in the middle of chaos. Ethan appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame. "What are you doing?" "I'm leaving." The words came out simple. No anger. No drama. Just a fact. "You can't be serious," he said, stepping into the room. He seemed less drunk than he had a few minutes before, or maybe the shock had sobered him up fast. "Over a stupid fight? Alice, you always get mad and then it passes. That's how we work." She stopped folding the shirt in her hands and looked him in the eyes. "No, Ethan. That's how I used to work. I got mad, swallowed it, convinced myself you would change, and kept holding everything together alone. But I don't work like that anymore. I'm broken. And I realized you're never going to change, because it's easier for me to carry both our weight than for you to carry your own. That's not fair." His voice rose again. "I'm going through a hard time. You knew that when we started. You said you'd support me. And I did," Alice said, going back to packing. "I supported you until there was nothing left of me. I paid your bills, cleaned your messes, managed your life, calmed your crises. I became your mother, your therapist, your career manager, everything except your partner. And you know what the saddest part is? You let me. You liked it. Because while I was busy taking care of you, you didn't have to grow up. You're being cruel, he said, but there was something in his voice she rarely heard, fragility. I need you. There it was. The sentence that had trapped Alice for so long, I need you. For years she had believed that being needed was the same as being loved. That sacrificing herself was the same as caring. That if she stopped holding everything together, it would all fall apart and it would be her fault. But as she looked at Ethan standing there, pleading eyes, slightly trembling hands, she saw it clearly. He didn't need her. He needed someone who would allow him to remain a smaller version of himself. And she had been that person for far too long. You don't need me, Ethan. You need an audience for your drama. You need someone to blame when things go wrong. You need someone to tell you everyone else is wrong and you're right. But you don't need me, the person. You never asked about my dreams. You never noticed when I was exhausted or sad. You never offered to hold my broken pieces while I was holding yours. She closed the suitcase and picked up her coat. Alice, don't do this, his voice broke. I'll change. I promise. I'll look for a job tomorrow. I'll stop drinking. I'll be better. She had heard those promises before. They always came in moments of desperation, when he felt he was about to lose her. And they always lasted a few days, maybe a week, before everything went back to normal. Because change required consistent, uncomfortable, lonely work, and Ethan had never been willing to do that. I hope you do, Alice said, and she truly meant it. Not for her sake, but because no one deserved to live trapped in a cycle of self-pity and waste. But you need to do it for you, not for me. And I need to go. Not to punish you, but to save myself. She walked past him toward the door. Ethan didn't try to stop her physically, but his voice followed her. You'll regret this. You'll realize no one will ever love you the way I do. Alice paused with her hand on the doorknob. For a moment, the old doubt flickered inside her. What if he was right? What if she was making a mistake? What if loneliness was worse than exhaustion? Then she remembered the heart attack patient, the words that had haunted her, I thought I had more time. Alice didn't know how much time she had, but she knew she didn't want to waste another day living like an emergency no one was treating. You're right, she said without turning around. No one will ever love me the way you do. And I'm deeply grateful for that. She opened the door and left. The cold night air hit her face like a shock. Alice walked slowly down the stairs of the building, the suitcase heavy in one hand, her bag on her shoulder. She didn't know exactly where she was going. She'd call her sister from the car, ask to stay for a few days until she found a place. But for now, she just needed to walk. When she reached the sidewalk, Alice stopped and took a deep breath. The air filled her lungs in a way that felt new, clean. She realized she had spent years holding her breath, always tense, always waiting for the next explosion, the next crisis, the next problem she would have to fix. And now, for the first time in a very long time, she could simply breathe. The weeks that followed weren't easy. Alice stayed at her sister's place while looking for an apartment. There were moments of doubt, nights when she stared at her phone and almost called Ethan. He texted, dozens of messages, swinging between anger, begging, and promises. She didn't answer any of them. At work, she started noticing changes in herself. The tension between her shoulders slowly faded. She smiled more. She accepted a promotion she had turned down months earlier because Ethan had said she already worked too much and he needed her to be more present. She started going to yoga classes on her mornings off. She went out to dinner with friends without worrying about someone's mood when she got home. 2 months after leaving, Alice signed the lease on a small apartment of her own. It was a sunny studio on the 3rd floor of an old building. The kitchen was tiny, the bathroom needed renovation, but when she walked in and saw the light pouring through the big windows, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, hope. She bought furniture little by little, choosing each piece carefully. A comfortable armchair for reading. A small coffee table she painted light blue herself. Plants for the windowsill. Nothing fancy or expensive, just things chosen by her, for her. One Saturday afternoon, 3 months after she left, Alice was arranging books on the new shelf when her phone rang. An unknown number. Alice? Ethan's voice sounded different. Calmer. Sober. I know you asked for space and I should respect that. But I needed to tell you something. She stayed quiet, waiting, not anxiously this time, just neutrally curious. I started therapy, he said. And I got a steady job. It's nothing glamorous, kitchen work at a hotel, but it's stable. And I'm trying. For real this time. I'm glad to hear that, Ethan, Alice said, and she truly was. Not because it changed anything between them, but because she genuinely wanted him to find his way. Do you think we could talk? Get coffee sometime? No, she answered gently. I don't think that's a good idea. But I wish you the best. I really do. There was a long pause. Are you happier? He asked. And for the first time in 4 years, Alice heard something in his voice that wasn't self-pity or anger. It was genuine curiosity, maybe even real concern. I am, she said, looking around her small apartment, at the life she was building brick by brick. I'm breathing again. After she hung up, Alice went back to her books. She placed a pediatric nursing textbook on the shelf. She had finally started the specialization she'd postponed for so long. Next to it, she put a novel a friend had lent her. Career books and pleasure books. Both had space now. She sat in her new armchair and looked out the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in orange and pink. Alice thought of all the nights she had spent in a suffocating apartment, cleaning messes that weren't hers, tending wounds that didn't want to heal, living in constant emergency mode. She thought about how scary it had been to leave all that behind. How hard it had been to choose herself when she was so used to choosing everyone else first. How there were still moments of loneliness, doubt, and fear. But then she took another deep breath, feeling the clean air fill her lungs, and she knew she had made the right choice. Because saving herself hadn't been selfish. It had been survival. And for the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving anymore. She was living. Enjoyed the video? Smash that like button and subscribe for more awesome stories. I'll be waiting for you in the next story.